In a world where Maitland McDonough, First Lady of Horror, speaks, and you have a front row seat. This is Maitland on movies, horror double feature.
It's Frankenstein!
So, Maitland, I hear you saw something monstrous.
I did indeed see something monstrous. I saw Guillermo del Toro's take on Frankenstein. And I have to say, it is an excellent movie. It is significantly more faithful than many versions of Frankenstein. Exceptionally well acted, really beautiful, and walks a really fine line in the way it depicts Victor Frankenstein. It's one of those lines between, yes, he is absolutely an obsessive and a transgressor,
Yeah.
but he's also trying to do something that he thinks is good because he's trying to figure out how to fix broken people. So, of course, what does he do? He makes the most broken person ever, right? As somebody who is literally patched together from shreds of other people's bodies, and then harnesses the lightning, of course, to bring him to life. And that is an extraordinarily good sequence in the movie. It's absolutely beautiful and terrifying. I mean, it's not that you're terrified because you don't know what's going to happen,
Yeah.
because I don't know how you could not know what happens in Frankenstein at this point in the
Right.
world.
When you watch Titanic, you know the boat's going to sink at some point. When you watch Frankenstein, there's a certain set of expectations.
Yeah. And one of them is, yes, you are going to get a creature, and that creature is not going to be happy because that creature's father is an asshole, is really
Yeah.
what this comes down to. You know, he's set out to defy every law of nature with which we are familiar. And again, this is set in the 19th century, so quite early in the 19th century. So nature was definitely less fooled around withable than it is now.
Yeah.
There were rules, and one of them is there's one way that you get a baby. Well, maybe two. You can adopt one, and then there's the other one. But that baby still was born of a woman and fathered by a man.
Well, no spoilers.
No spoilers there. Yes. Yes, that is how that thing works. And, if you're still disturbed by this, why don't you go talk to your mother and she'll explain
Yeah.
it to you. Uh, and of course, Frankenstein is hubristic to the nth degree. He actually thinks that this is a smart thing to be doing, and he's the smartest person in the room, any
Yeah.
room. And so he's going to do it. And he births an unnatural creature and then rejects it, rejects him.
Yeah.
When, in what world is that going to work, right?
Yeah.
Because you've given birth unnaturally to an adult child and then cut your child loose
Yeah.
without even saying, don't let the door hit you on the way out. Complete abandonment. So, yeah,
Yeah.
you're going to pay for it.
My hesitation anytime I hear they're doing yet another of something like this is I think about the huge catalog. I mean, Hammer Films, all the different places that Frankenstein's been done. I was chatting with you about Young Frankenstein, Fra blah, all that kind of stuff. And I understand when Mel Brooks hit it, why he hit it. There was a completely different tone, there was a completely different take. And I can understand why Guillermo del Toro would want to do this movie because of his catalog, his approach, and his view.
Hmm.
But it sounds like you're saying the audience has a reason to show up, not just there was a reason this performer, this director, these actors wanted to make this, but they actually added something that's not there before. They gave us a new version that's worth having a new version over.
Absolutely. I mean, they gave us a version that is really true to the emotional tenor of the original book. And on the one hand, people were surprised at the time that Mary Shelley, who was also extremely young,
Hmm.
She was also Mary Wollstonecraft.
Yep.
She and Percy Shelley were not yet married. They had very progressive ideas about that, which I'm sure didn't sit well with a lot of people. But she was very young. She didn't have any children. And yet she managed to write a novel about not only being the child that isn't what its parents want, but also about what it's like being the person who created that child. Victor Frankenstein is actually a tragic character. He's not as tragic as his creature
Yeah.
because he at least is human and has agency and also comes from a pretty good family. So things
Yeah.
should be going well for him. But he's hubristic in
Yes.
a major, major way. And also a jackass because when his new baby doesn't turn out exactly the way he wanted, he basically throws it to the wolves. He
Well,
doesn't care.
he's kind of the poster child for I didn't think through to the end of the sentence, because even if he had created what he wanted, he had no plan for this creature's life.
Nope.
And so yes, he did reject the creature, but there's nothing when you read that text that says to me he ever had a plan for accepting the creature. There's no statement of I'm going to create this creature and here's where education will come from. Here's how I will protect this creature. This is what I will do next because it is a unique entity and the law might have an opinion about that and society might have an opinion. These are all shocks to him when they happen because he's really not a thoughtful person. He's really not looking at consequence. And as a man who sees himself as a scientist, to not say what is the outcome is really myopic. It's really short-sighted.
Well, although the history of science is the history of scientists who didn't think it through. And in some cases, it turned out really well. And in other
Yeah.
cases, it doesn't turn out really well. So, people often say they can't believe that a woman wrote Frankenstein. And I want to say, what do you mean you can't believe it? Everything about this narrative is a narrative about the responsibilities of bearing or creating in some other way children.
Yeah.
And she completely recognizes you can't just throw your kids onto the street and expect them to make do for themselves, even if they are born fully grown. So yes, they, they can probably feed themselves and what have you. But you've thrown them out there with no emotional resources, no
Yeah.
sense of stability, no sense that there are people they can rely on. Just toss them out in the world.
Yeah.
That's the tragedy of Frankenstein's monster, is that it is monstrous in appearance, and the monster makeup in this movie is really good. I don't think anybody will ever lose the image of the classic Frankenstein,
Yeah.
but and that's not the way this creature looks. But this creature is devastated and abandoned, and why is it pissed off? Well, those are two really good reasons.
Yeah.
That and the fact that his father, and also sort of mother, has gone on to have a nice life. He's from a wealthy family. He's not worried about money. He has a wife. Everything's pretty okay for him, leaving aside whatever day-to-day
Yeah.
problems. Everybody's got them. He has them too. But he has made this child and abandoned it in the world, and then he's surprised when it comes looking for him.
Well,
Deadbeat dads of the world unite.
the monstrous child also brings up a fascinating conversation I was having with somebody. Basically said the reason infants are constantly crying and screaming is because they have no concept of scale. Whatever's happening is the worst thing happening to them.
Hmm.
And that's got to be part of what's going on with this creature also, because everything is new, because everything is foreign, everything is a crisis because there's no scale. So adding the very real things you're saying to the fact that literally infant, yeah,
Yeah, there's no scale and there's no frame of reference.
yeah,
Once you've lived a while, you learn that if you fall down, either you stand up again or mom or dad comes and picks you up.
right.
you have a sense of proportion at a certain point that is developed by having a childhood.
Right.
Frankenstein's monster has no, or creature has no childhood. It's just
And
thrown
if
into
you're
the
not
world.
Victor, you also learn consequence at some point. So yeah.
Well, Victor does eventually learn that there are consequences,
Yeah.
but
He gets his face rubbed in it a lot, but yes.
as well he should.
Yeah.
And then, but the fact that he just runs away from it just tells you everything about the person he is. He's
Yep.
extremely intelligent, and yet he's an emotional and moral moron.
Yes.
And it's great. That's your dad, the emotional and moral moron. No wonder his child is pissed as hell.
Yeah.
So
So
I really recommend Frankenstein, this version of Frankenstein. We've all, if we care about horror movies at all, we've all seen multiple versions of Frankenstein, many of which have their own virtues. I mean, I think Hammer's Frankenstein is a good Frankenstein. I don't love the creature design. On the other hand, it's a more likely the way that creature would look
yeah.
than the classic Phil Leakey Frankenstein. Okay, but
But
you know,
we've come a long way from the monster. Yeah.
exactly. Arms out, bolts in the head, all of that. The birthing sequence, by the way, just is so good in this Frankenstein. I recommend it highly because it really does capture the idea of harnessing the lightning in beautiful visual terms, which is
Yeah.
no surprise. Del Toro is a beautiful visual director as well as a director who has a very strong sense of story and clearly works well with actors, which generally means that he likes actors. You know, directors who don't like actors have a problem.
Yeah.
They sometimes make good films anyway, but they're doing it despite the fact that but they're doing it despite the fact that
Yeah.
they don't recognize that your filmmaking is nothing without actors. So you shouldn't be a dick to them.
So let me ask you this: if somebody was new to Del Toro, is this the first thing they should see? Are there other things they should see before? Are there other things you'd recommend once they've seen this?
First of all, I love Del Toro as a filmmaker. I don't think he has ever made a bad movie. He's just tremendously inventive, imaginative, and a very viscerally rooted in people's stories director. He would never have undertaken Frankenstein had he not expected that he was going to make it about father and son relationships.
Yeah.
And in this case, a totally toxic father son relationship. Again, yeah, Victor Frankenstein, he is the deadbeat dad who belongs on the poster of deadbeat dads.
Yeah.
You know, he not only neglected his child, he actively rejects his child.
Yeah.
Is it any wonder that the creature has issues? No. It's also physically just beautiful. It's beautifully photographed. Again, the lightning scene is just phenomenal. And Frankenstein the man is not as great a monster as he is sometimes portrayed as being. He is just hubristic. And
Yeah.
you know what? He's a young man. Need we say more? Young men tend to overestimate themselves. And
He's no Gene Wilder.
no, he is not. So yeah, it's an excellent Frankenstein, an excellent addition to the very large body of first variations on the novel and then later movies that just go off in a completely different direction.
Yeah.
Right down to Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein.
Oh, yes. I can't remember the name of it. There was a breathtakingly bad, low budget. I think it was an Italian version of Frankenstein I saw one time, where they tried to almost make it erotic without making an erotic film, and it was just so painful to watch that it just yeah.
Let's
Uh
leave it to the Italians to try.
yep.
They will try. Yeah,
Yeah.
in the Great Monster Pantheon, Dracula is the erotic one, and Frankenstein is the poor, sad, angry child.
Yes. And the werewolf needs a haircut and a hug. Yes.
Yeah, And it's not his fault. That's the really
Yep.
sad thing about all versions of the Wolfman. Not his fault. He
Yep.
didn't choose to be a monster. He wasn't born a monster. He wasn't raised badly. It just happened
Yeah.
because that's life. Stuff happens. And sometimes it's not good.
Yeah.
I mean,
So
that's
we're
why
gonna,
for me, the best werewolves are the truly tragic werewolves. The
yes.
ones who absolutely understand that it's not their fault. It was visited upon them. And oh yeah, they're dangerous.
Yep.
So, so they have to deal with that in some way. But it's not like they can go and tell everybody that they know, hey, I have this problem. Okay. I become a wolf
Yeah.
when the moon is full.
Yep.
And could you lock me in your basement so I don't do anybody any harm? Or
Well, now we're back to the man in the basement, but uh,
here we are. We're next to the man in
we
the
did a few
basement.
weeks back. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, that sadness underlies both werewolf and Frankenstein movies because yeah, it's not the creature's fault.
Yeah.
And when people are nice to him, he tries to be nice back. That doesn't happen very often. That's why you have the blind man, right?
Yeah.
Because he can't reject the creature because it's ugly. But
And the little girl in the movie and things like that.
right, the little child who doesn't know that that's not just the way some grown-ups look.
Yep.
So, and of course that ends badly too.
Yes.
But that's the monster's life. Everything ends badly for the creature. And Dr. Frankenstein is a dick. And I have to give it to Del Toro that he really does catch the hubris of it
Yeah.
very effectively without making Frankenstein the man who made the monster into a total monster himself. Both Dr. Frankenstein and the creature have mixed natures. So it's a very humanistic Frankenstein. And you know what? That's what you would expect from Guillermo del Toro. So,
So it's a good first viewing of Del Toro's work. It's a good entry point into that. It's a
uh,
good entry in the catalog of versions of Frankenstein. We're going to give this one a big thumbs up too,
yeah,
right?
we have a lot of goods in that sentence. But yeah, it's good and it's beautiful. And as I said, the lightning birth sequence is extraordinarily beautiful. And
Uh,
it's one of those things that you couldn't do on a smaller budget. You needed some money to make it look.
so this is going to theaters, I'm guessing, when you say budget that way.
Yes, it is
Yep.
going to theaters,
Very good. Look
and it
forward.
looked great on a big screen. So yeah, don't wait until it comes to streaming.
Yeah. And thank you very much, everyone, for listening, and we will see you back again soon.
Bye.
On behalf of Maitland McDonough and myself, Charles Baruch, we wish you nothing but happy dreams.